But there are some people that did get chosen, right? And moving over to the WNBA, as a reminder that they all are playing against the Olympic roster. So those on the Olympic roster weren't eligible to be an All-Star. Actually, that's a very good note. So appreciate you for putting it in there. But what else do you got? Tell us the rest of the story there.
Yeah. WNBA All Stars have been chosen, and we have this beautiful graphic up here. We got Dewana Bonner of the Connecticut Suns, fifth in all time scoring. Aaliyah Boston, Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark of the Indiana Fever, third in assists per games, fourth in three pointers. Alicia Gray of the Atlanta Dream. Derek Hamby of the Los Angeles Sparks, third in rebounds per game, fifth in fantasy points per game. Brianna Jones of the Connecticut Suns, fifth in field goal percentage. John Kell Jones, my girl, of the New York Liberty, second in field goal percentage. Kayla McBride of the Minnesota Lynx tied for first in three-pointers made. Kelsey Mitchell of the Indiana Fever, Abike Gumbawale. Now, her stats are going to take a little while here. Tied for first in three-pointers, first in steals per game, second in points per game, second in fantasy points per game, tied with Asia this season in 20-plus points games. And her stats show how much of a snub she is for the Olympics. But, she's an all-star. We got a Nneka Ogwumike from the Seattle Storm, Angel Reese, Chicago Sky, first in rebounds per game. And then, as we show here, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, they were the top two vote getters with 700,735 votes and 618,680 votes for Aaliyah Boston. So those are all stars. Those are the vote totals. Like, look at how many people voted.
Yeah, I'm sure those are probably record numbers as
Yes.
far as participation. Like 750,000 people voting for just one person. Not sure what the voting looked like. If it was, could you choose multiple or not? But still, you'd love to see that much participation by the public and supporting all the players, really. In that's such a weird. I mean, I get it because probably just the timing of it. Maybe they're only going to have to deal with this every 4 years. For the men's, of course, they don't have to really deal with it because their all-star game is in the winter.
I wouldn't call it a game, but they're all-star. Just let's go out and just dunk all the time and not
they're
play
all-star hangout. Yeah,
all-star hangout.
Yeah, the three-point competition, man's always lit. But yeah, no, that's kind of a peculiar kind of rule there. But at the same time, hey, everybody gets to play, and even though some, especially the rookies, probably don't need to play, they probably just need to rest. Like have a weekend off, but yeah, no, I like it. I like it. Josh, what are your thoughts on this one, bud?
The top two vote getters are from Indiana, and most people end up watching Indiana. So I guess if you're going to vote for something, you're going to vote for the person you've been watching the most. So shout out to Leah Boston. There you go. You like how that swerved that? So yeah, and I've been saying the biggest snub, other than people were saying Caitlin, was Arike. I mean, you just read off her stats. But then you look at the women's national team and you're like, but painting up based on her position, like, who do you take off?
Right, exactly.
So it's like, you really going to tell DT to sit this one out when she's been the catalyst for the league forever and been the face
and she said, see you in Paris at the last Olympics?
Yeah, so it stinks for that's the main thing is like Arike. I expect Arike they're just going to get out of her way because she feels the most snub. I mean, I don't know I'm not in Caitlin's mind on this situation because she has no control over what the outer internet says. But as far as statistics and everything and longevity alone, I expect Arike.
Is that called the outer net?
Not the outer net. I was going to say the Outer Banks, but that show just pisses me off. But yeah, Arike, I expect her to really go off. But yeah, you can just tell you've seen the ratings. Like that's probably why Caitlin and Aaliyah got the biggest because that's a team that's being watched the most. Yeah. Therefore,
Mitch will be in the mix too.
Yeah.
And for voting purposes, because I voted a few times, you were allowed to vote after a while, was that you picked your entire team. So you basically were given that amount and you had to choose, I think it was 6 point guards and like 8 everyone else, and that's who you were choosing. And then you got to do that every few days. You got to repick if you wanted to.
Gosh, yeah, that's pretty wild voting system, but
Yeah.
so that's where those numbers definitely look like a little bit up. But Jeremy Miller saying WNBA All Star Game will hopefully be better than the NBA All Star Game. Just like kind of Josh was alluding to, it's just kind of a pickup game. There's no defense. There's just alley oops and
Not a game. We talk about practice, man.
And these women care each time they get on
practice, man.
Yeah, exactly.
These women care each time they get on the sport and get on the court, and it's mainly because they're not paid well. So to be able to decide to play the sport and to be on the court and put their all, they have the love of the game. And not saying that the men don't have the love of the game, but there was this like male announcer that was speaking about, like, if you want to go back to what it was like in the 90s in the NBA and just like kind of like a little bit of that violence on the court, and watch a WNBA game, because they're pushing, they're shoving, everything's on the line for them. Because if you are able to get your stats up a little bit, that means more money for you, because they're not making a lot. It is going up, but it's not where it should be.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're kind of in negotiations. Sorry, I left the comment up. For the TV contracts here probably pretty soon. But it's also on the Player Association. They've really got to step up and go to bat and play hardball with the ownership and with the deciding group there. Jeremy Mill also says Fever are actually getting better.
They are.
With how they beat the Liberty. Yeah. And then,
we got some upsets. We got the Fever beating the Liberty. We had Chicago beating Seattle. So there's a few upsets that happened this past week.
Yeah, you gotta love that. I mean, competition just increasing. Fan voting might get out of hand if Bronny is an all-star while only averaging 4 points a game. You're not wrong. Yeah, if we see that at the end of the year, then we know the fix is in.